The battle lines are drawn again in historical Richmond, Virginia, where the rumble of cannon fire is replaced by the roar of monster trucks. It's side-by-side racing action from the Richmond International Raceway next. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the all-stars of TNT's Monster Truck Challenge. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the National Network. Today we come to you from historic Richmond, Virginia. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Rich Hooser, and today we're at the Richmond International Raceway, one of the prime stops for the Winston Cup NASCAR circuit. But the stock cars race on the oval, and Rich, today's competition is in the pit area.
Right, Gary, and this is where the trouble begins. Pit road is not very wide, and you got two monster trucks about 12 feet wide apiece going over cars down pit road with walls on each side. You don't want to get hooked up or get out of shape. You're going to see some of these trucks on their roof.
Also joining us on today's telecast will be Army Armstrong. He'll be along momentarily. We'll take this break and come back to Richmond, Virginia. A beautifully manicured motorsports facility, the Richmond International Raceway here in Richmond, Virginia. We are ready for side-by-side monster truck competition. Round one matchups. Gravedigger, the fastest qualifier, against Nightlife. King Crunch and Thunder Chicken. Carolina Crusher, the third fastest qualifier, against Bigfoot. We also have the Jersey Outlaw against Wild Hare, and Equalizer, the second fastest qualifier, against USA 1. Your fast qualifier is the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson. However, in qualifying with the quick time, he had trouble earlier, and that will present some problems as the competition gets underway this evening.
Right here at the second set of cars, you see how hard landing he takes on that left front wheel, which in turn caused him to break his front drive shaft. Now in this event, he's not able to get it back together again for this first round, so he's going to be running only on rear wheel drive, a big disadvantage for Gravedigger.
Well, the show must go on, so Dennis Anderson will line up against Dave Wyzorik in Nightlife, a new Chevrolet against the 1950 Chevy panel truck. Four-wheel drive against two-wheel drive. They're coming right at you, Nightlife and the Gravedigger. And you can see the big advantage right there Nightlife has because of the four-wheel drive. But I tell you what, let's go back and take a look. I don't think Gravedigger made a legal run.
Gary, he didn't. As the rules state, you have to hit the cars with both front tires, and you can see right there, he totally misses them.
He almost did into Dave Wyzorik's lane. Dave is out of the truck. Let's go down to Army Armstrong.
Well, Dave, you draw the Gravedigger in the first round. He goes on the trailer. You're staying alive on this thing. Do you have a handle on the track tonight?
Well, I don't know. It's still kind of rough, but it's a lot smoother than the last time we ran on it. So, I don't know. I hope things get real good.
Is it going to be a quicker track than the last time we ran here?
It's definitely going to be a lot faster. It feels a lot faster for me.
Here's a look now at the King Crunch minus the front doghouse, Scott Stevens. And we have a radio hookup so Army can talk to Scott.
Scott, this is Army. You going to run hard out of this lane? No, Army, we're just going to try to get through this round. Truck's running good, but we need to save it.
And he will take on the young lady from Pennsylvania, the Thunder Chicken. This is Karen Pencil on the right-hand lane. Close to the start, but then the auto value King Crunch put the throttle down and takes the victory.
Now, as Scott talked to Army earlier, he was just going to take it easy and get through this round, but before he hit that second set of cars, he's seen an advantage to hit the throttle and to give himself a big win.
So as the crowd looks on here at the Richmond International Raceway, we look inside the cockpit of Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. And the Carolina Crusher out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, will go up against Bigfoot, John Pyatt out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Now, John's getting a little leery on this track here. In qualifying, he didn't do real well, and let's hope he can do a little better on this run.
Gary gets a good jump and will take the victory. There is a certain degree of intimidation, the intimidation factor with these two concrete walls.
Exactly. When you see that wall coming at you, see, now John's in that left lane, so he can see that wall better than Gary Porter can. And, of course, Gary didn't even think about it. John might have hesitated a little bit before he hit that second set of cars.
Here's a good look at Mike Wine, the Jersey Outlaw. And he will go up against Wild Hare, Marvin Smith out of Arnold, Missouri, near St. Louis. Well, this will be Ford against Chevrolet as they are staged. We are ready for competition in round one. A very poor start for the Wild Hair, and the Jersey Outlaw takes the victory. And hang on, Marvin, he almost gets the other side of the concrete wall.
Marvin got a little out of shape after that first set of cars. He's running a new engine that he's not used to yet. He's got a lot of horsepower. And when he came over that first set, he was out of shape, and then he tried to hammer it down a little bit harder, and that just threw him off even worse when he got past the second set of cars. And as you can see down here, the Outlaw has broken the front drive shaft. He's got to get back into the pits and try to fix that before the next round because he did advance. Now, I'm not sure where that happened. I believe it was right there at that second set of cars when he took that nosedive and that put all that pressure on that front axle.
Mike Wine advances. There is work to be done. Let's go down to Army.
Mike, let me grab you real quick. I notice Nick immediately goes to work on the truck. What's the problem?
Well, last week we had a problem. We had to run it in two-wheel drive. We couldn't figure out why. I went out and qualified with 2 new yokes, front drive shaft. We didn't paint this one this time. Now we see where it's bonding. The front rear is just angled down too low. The drive shaft and the front rear are going downward and bonding and ripping the joints right out.
Well, as the work continues in the pit area, we go back to action here on the track in front of the grandstand. Greg Holbrook in equalizer at 11 in Tennessee. And Greg's opposition will be USA 1, the big Chevy of Steve Wilkie.
Now, Steve Wilkie's truck's been running pretty good here, but a lot of these trucks are a little newer now. This truck is 2 years old, and let's see how it's going to handle. He's getting a little out of shape. He's in trouble right there. Oh, he's upside down all the way over, Gary. The front axle came completely out from under the truck. I believe Steve is starting to climb out. He's trying to get out of there. Everybody's around.
There's Mike Wine. He runs over and check. There's Dennis Anderson. All the drivers concerned for their fellow competitor. And he looks a little worse off for wear. Still inside the cockpit. You can see the damage to the windshield. He's taken his helmet off. He apparently is okay. But there's that moment where you really collect your thoughts and clean the cobwebs out of your head. Well, as the fans look on, the rescue workers are there. He takes his time in climbing out, shaking, but I think Steve Wilkie is okay. He climbs on top of the truck, salutes the crowd. He says, I'm okay. Also surveys the damage. A nice round of applause, but a frightening accident for USA 1. Here's a look again.
Now, as we watch right here, when he hit that second set of cars, he wasn't lined up for it, and he's shooting over into Equalizer's lane, and that left tire caught his cars and ripped the front axle out from under it. And good thing for Equalizer that this did happen, because if not, there could have been a collision like a T-bone crash.
You mentioned earlier this truck is one of the older vehicles in competition. The fatigue factor may have had a role to play in this accident.
I believe it did. This truck was the same truck that I used to run against, and the truck is just a little outdated. It was the state-of-the-art when it came out, but they're trying to build a new truck. And, of course, when stuff like this happens, they got to go back and work on it, and it kind of slows down their process.
Well, you can see the driver hanging on. The roll cage holds up. The driver's okay. He has made his way over to Army Armstrong. Let's go back to the pit area.
Steve, first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, Army.
You have any idea what caused the accident?
Well, I reviewed the tape up at the timing stand there, and it looks like when I come out the first stack, I was nose over. I clipped that last car. And I was in the hammer driving it around, and I was crossed up coming to the second stack. And when I landed, I kind of landed off of the second stack of cars, and it looks like the front end gave way on the left front and backed up underneath me.
People don't realize how important it is for you to stay in the throttle. A lot of people think, well, wait a minute, if you just backed out of the throttle, everything would be okay. That's not the case at all. If you'd have backed out of the throttle, you'd have really been in trouble, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely, Army. When you land in any contorted position, meaning nose over, up on 2 wheels, bicycling the truck, anything like that, especially when you're nose over, you want to drive that front end out. And I was in the hammer. That's why I was reviewing the timing tape up there. I wanted to see if for sure I was in the hammer, and it's a little easier to explain to Everett.
Well, this is not the first crash that USA 1's owner, Everett Jasmer, has seen. We'll take a look at some when we return. We are back at Richmond, Virginia. Richmond International Raceway. Work continues to clean the debris after that frightening crash involving USA 1. Rich Hooser, here's a look again.
Right, as you can see what happened when he hit that second set of cars. He got out of shape, and his front axle completely out from under the vehicle, which was caused from hitting the other set of cars. Now here's a good look at the axle which came out from it, and there's Rod Litzau. Now this truck has been on its roof many times, and we're going to see some footage. Here's earlier in the year from Roanoke Civic Center. Again, Steve Wilkie behind the wheel. As you see there, he got his back end up in the air too high, and he'd seen the wall coming, and I wasn't sure if he actually hit the brakes or not, but that's what caused him to go over. And of course, here at Lancaster Speedway in Buffalo, New York, Rod Litzau, formerly the driver of this truck, puts it upside down at the other end of the track. Now, Rodney is a very aggressive driver, and you got to wonder how many times can this truck go over and survive. Now, you can see him fighting the wheel there. He keeps his foot in it, but once he got out of shape in that grassy area, it was too late. And now, standing by with Army Armstrong is Rod Litzau.
All right, now we're standing with a gentleman that was involved in the very first flip of the USA 1 truck, took it to a world championship, but hey, that truck almost seems like it's been spooked, Rod Litzau.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're pushing the truck over its limits right now. It's fatigued, and it's gone over 8 times now, and we keep putting it back together, but I think it's time we got to come out with a new truck. We just pushed this truck too hard, and times are changing, and the truck ain't designed to keep up right now, so we have to renew it.
Say there's a fatigue factor. Where do you think the fatigue factor might be? Let me bring something out. This looked almost identical to me to the flip that you took in Louisville, Kentucky when you won the championship. It looked like something in the front of the truck curled under. Is that what happened?
Well, it was basically the same thing, but what happened in Louisville is the studs, we were testing different studs out, and the studs let go. In this deal here, where the studs are bolted to, the weld from fatigue is what let go. The whole weld let go, causing it to twist, and then it took the rest of the bolts out. Probably if I was going that speed back there, it would have done the same thing, but, you know, I wasn't hitting that speed. When he was hitting this speed, twisted it, and then he rolled right over the front set of tires, causing it to be a bad roll.
Well, if that white truck had a black stripe for each time it's been upside down, it would look like a zebra. Here and now are the matchups for the second round. Nightlife against King Crunch. The Thunder Chicken, the third fast loser, against Carolina Crusher. Also, we'll have Wild Hair, another fast loser from round 1 against the Jersey Outlaw, and Bigfoot against Equalizer. Round 2 action here at the Richmond International Raceway. It is the auto value King Crunch of Scott Stevens and Dave Wyzorik in Nightlife. A good close battle over the second set of cars. Who wins that thing, Rich?
It is the auto value King Crunch with a little collision down here at the finish line. Now, they both got a little out of shape, and Crunch just put on the brakes to keep from causing a bad collision. Watch here. Now, Scott said he was going to be taking it easy, but you can never believe what he says, because when he gets behind the wheel, he only knows 2 speeds, and that's idle and open. And, of course, he takes it right there barely without no front end on that truck. But right down here at the end, as we'll be able to see when they come at you, Nightlife gets a little over in the Crunch's lane and causes Crunch to put on the brakes, and right there, they collide, just bumping tires. No damage to either vehicle.
Well, there is a good look at the battle-weary auto value King Crunch as Scott Stevens climbs out, and he'll be ready for more action yet this evening. Ready for our next lineup, we look through the cockpit of Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher to another yellow Chevy. That is Thunder Chicken with the young lady, Karen Pencil.
Right away, she has problems at the beginning, Gary, and Gary Porter's going to have an easy run here.
So Gary Porter advances to the final 4 of the semifinals in the Carolina Crusher.
Now let's go for a ride with Gary in his truck, and you can see they got to steer, shift, see where they're going, and hang on with all that bouncing, and it's a rough ride. Believe me, I know.
Well, here's a look at Rich Schaefer as he starts to stage the next 2. That will be the Jersey Outlaw of Mike Wine and the Wild Hair of Marvin Smith.
Now, there's 2 trucks here that are both running exceptionally well tonight. This could be anybody's race. The main thing is to keep them intact.
A tentative start by both, but Marvin Smith takes the measure and takes the victory.
There were some problems with the Outlaw down here, Gary. It looks like he spit out the front drive shaft right at the starting line. As you can see, he had no power to the front axles, and it's a big disadvantage for him, which gives Wild Hair a pretty easy win, but it was still close.
Well, now we take a look at a Ford and a Chevrolet. Bigfoot, John Pyatt, Equalizer, the Chevrolet with Greg Holbrook. And Greg takes the victory. Oh, the Bigfoot truck into that concrete wall.
Boy, as I mentioned earlier, John was a little tentative about them walls, and as he comes out, he knew he wasn't going to let off the throttle in this race, which he didn't. But in that case, what happened down here at the finish line, he got a little out of shape, and right there, as you see, he just hits the wall pretty hard, but there's no real damage to the truck.
Take a look again as they're coming right at you. Right here, the second set of cars, he's out of shape right there, and he does a white wall job against the concrete wall. Well, we have a good crowd on hand here at the Richmond International Raceway. They love these monster trucks. And now we take a look at the results of this round. King Crunch knocking out Nightlife. The Carolina Crusher was victorious over Thunder Chicken. Wild Hair defeats Jersey Outlaw, and Equalizer knocks out John Payant in Bigfoot. We are ready now for the semifinals, and here is a look at Auto Value King Crunch.
And he's getting his kill box hooked up and slid in, and Army's getting ready to talk to Scott on the radio.
You all do anything to tighten or loosen the chassis up between rounds, Scott? We pretty well left it like it was, Army.
Well, they like the chassis the way it's been running. He's been doing good, so he's going to leave it the way it is, Gary.
Well, he goes up against the Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter. A pair of Chevrolets in the semifinals here at Richmond, Virginia. And the Crunch got in trouble coming over that first set of cars, and Gary Porter takes the victory.
Now, Scott Stevens started off real well here, but he was in that left lane that he's not real used to, and he took a bad hop after that first set of cars, and that cost him the race, Gary.
Here's Army with Gary.
Gary, it's final time, and you're going to be there. The truck looks better right now than I've seen in a couple of weeks.
It is. The truck seems to be handling real good. I think I got the course figured out. You know, it's been so long since I've been in the finals. I'm just glad to be here right now.
Well, the fans anticipate the next battle coming up between Wild Hair and Equalizer. Marvin Smith with a good ride this evening in the Wild Hair Chevrolet, and he goes up against Greg Holbrook, the youngster at 11 in Tennessee in Equalizer. The trucks are being staged. The winner goes against Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher for the championship here in Richmond, Virginia.
And if there's going to be any disadvantage, it'll be Wild Hair with that new engine. Hard to control.
And Greg Holbrook with about, 3 lengths there, takes the victory, and he will meet the Carolina Crusher, much to the delight of the fans here in Richmond. So Greg Holbrook will climb out, accept the applause of the fans, and he'll have that truck ready to meet the Carolina Crusher for the championship.
And here's another look at the replay of that race. As you see here, Wild Hair wasn't quite lined up for that second set of cars. He had to let off the throttle. It cost him the race.
So we'll come back and see if the Crusher can shut down the Equalizer in Richmond, Virginia. Back in Richmond, Virginia, we are ready to crown a champion. Let's go down to Army Armstrong.
Well, it's final time in Richmond, Virginia, Richmond International Raceway, and these people are going to see a war. We got a kid coming out of Tennessee driving a world champion Equalizer. And you know, if this kid would have been born 100 years ago, I guarantee you, he'd have been a gunfighter. You can just see it in his eyes. He's a straight shooter. Who's he going to be going up against? Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. Both drivers have already told us they're going to be in the lanes they want to be in. It's going to be a great final.
Well, Army, 100 years ago, the gunslingers had 1 horsepower to contend with. These drivers have upwards of 1,000 horsepower. We look at Greg Holbrook in the cockpit of Equalizer, the defending national championship truck, and there is a look at Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. He would like to secure the championship this year. The final shootout here at Richmond International Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. They are taking their time staging the monster trucks. The fans are on their feet. They are ready. We are ready. And here we are, the final championship race in Richmond, Virginia. Side by side, but the Carolina Crusher takes the victory. Gary Porter wins in Richmond.
He did an excellent job, and it was kind of surprising that Porter could outdo the Equalizer on this type of track. This is more of a track for the Equalizer, but as you see right there at the starting line, he hesitated a little bit. almost red lighting, but he stopped again, and that gave Porter a little bit of an advantage to get just a little bit ahead, which was enough to take the win.
So Gary Porter is victorious as we look again from our starting line camera. Once again, Greg Holbrook hesitated, almost red lighted, and that was enough to give Gary Porter the advantage. He actually makes contact with the wall, slides over in front of Holbrook, but he'll take the victory.
Gary, in the winner's circle, congratulations.
Thank you, Army. I swear it's been a long time since I've been in the winner's circle. You know, it just seemed like, you know, I just couldn't get it all together, you know, at a race, and it finally all came together here, you know, to take the win, and I'm proud of it.
Our congratulations to Gary Porter. For Rich Hooser and Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now, here's news about an exciting new release from Diamond P Sports. It's time to shake, battle, and roll. Call 1-800-453-2800 for 70 minutes of awesome air-grabbing rooster tail spring action from the worlds of monster truck racing, truck and tractor pulling, and mud bogging. Relive the great moments of thrilling side-by-side monster truck racing. Feel the ground shake from the raw power of truck and tractor pulling. And get down and dirty as the best mud racers battle the slime for the fastest time. All this incredible...